Welcome everyone to this morning's or today's social system mapping sumApp Tech Talk for October 26, 2020. Your hosts today are me and Tim and Kara. I think most of you, oops, we keep getting some new people coming in. For those of you who are new, we have 3 sessions a month. On the second Monday, we usually do an on-ramp. Next time it will be Sarah Shanahan of the REAMP Network will be sharing her map. On the 3rd Monday of the month, which is our second monthly session, we have a deep dive conversation. Next month, it's going to be sense making with the Now What map using human systems dynamics concepts. And then on the 4th Monday of every month, we have a tech talk, which is what we're doing today. And today we're going to, nope, I didn't change the, I'm wondering if I'm even in the right one. Doesn't matter, we'll be fine. So if there's other ways you can learn about social system mapping is you could be in our map, for our community of practice that we have, which Kara's putting a link to in the chat right now. Join our Slack team, which I think will be a link in a moment. And then we also have a knowledge base where you can come. And so there's lots of places to get information. There's also, we have a whole library of recordings of recent sessions. So especially if you haven't seen a social system map and you are interested in seeing what that means and what that looks like, I suggest checking out some recent sessions as well as coming to the next one. And lastly, if you, I hold open office hours, a half hour a week where I'm on Slack or on Zoom, and you can just come and join me if you have questions or you're stuck on something and you just need a quick bit of help or some thought partnering. So join me in office hours if you want. And if I need to cancel, I cancel in Slack. So check out the Slack announcements if you are planning on joining. And there should be a link to Slack in the chat also. So for today's agenda, we're going to do something. I'm going to actually close out of here. We're going to do something a little bit different. And so this is a bit of an experiment, which is for those of you who know me and know that I get sped up sometimes when I'm a little anxious, which is why I'm a little rushing through the intro. Is because this is going to be a little different, and there's like some new technical things that we're doing as well as new process things that we're doing. And so hopefully this will work out, and I'll appreciate everyone's tolerance of our learning curve. But so what we're going to do this morning is we didn't have a specific topic we felt would be good to address. And we also know that a lot of people just have, oops, that's not what I wanted, sorry. A lot of people just have some basic questions that they're looking to get answered most of the time. And so we thought we would try doing more of a liberating structure, sort of open, more engaging with each other kind of a process. And so what we're going to do is kind of an open space technology, a riff off that online. And so first we're going to ask you each to, once I'm through walking you through this overview of how we're going to proceed, we're going to have you each go into these colored stickies and answer some questions, some basic introduction, and then your burning technical question for today, and then why this question is important to you. If you'll have a problem in Miro, if you can't get in there, we have a plan for helping you, but we'll address that when I'm done with the overview. So I want you to, in fact, why don't you go ahead and put it in the chat now if you think you can't, like for whatever reason, like you're on a phone and it's just going to be really too tricky to try and put your own questions in the stickies. Once we've got everyone's questions in the blue Post-its, I'm going to just quickly go through and cluster them so that into groupings based on, relative similarity or relative, same topic, close adjacent topics. And at the same time, or maybe before that, I'm going to ask, I know there are some people here who are pretty experienced technically. I'm going to ask for volunteers to be temporary coaches. And then once we get our clusters defined, we'll assign whoever's willing and feels able to address the cluster. So we'll first we'll put coaches on here, which I'm just going to already put Jim Best on here, and because I saw him come in, and I'm going to volunteer him right now because I get to. I can't see Jim. I have to look. Okay, he's smiling. Good. So we'll have our coaches lined up down here. Then we'll assign a coach to a topic, and then we're going to try the new Zoom feature, which is enabling people to go to their own breakout rooms. So if you haven't heard that they've started doing that, Tim and I tested it yesterday, and it seems to work, and we're going to hope that it works. We're going to, great, Ryan, I was expecting you to volunteer also, or hoping you would. Anyone else here who is willing to volunteer? Okay. Well, I have to look at who else here. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so so then we'll have breakout rooms labeled by the clusters. We'll assign a coach to each breakout room, and then you can walk in. You can go to the breakout room that that you're most interested in, and then we'll give 15 minutes for that. If you're not familiar with open space technology, there's the rule of 2 feet, which means if it's not giving you what you want, come back to them. You can leave. You can go to the other breakout room, or just come back to the main room, and maybe we can quickly fit it in. And then, but also knowing that there may be things that, like if Jim or Ryan had a question, that if they have a question, then we know that probably the only people who could answer it are me or Tim. In that case, we don't want to rob whoever's willing to be a coach of getting their questions answered. So we would all come back together and answer those questions together. Something like that. We'll try this, see how well it works, and adjust as we go as needed. If we can adjust without spending too much process time figuring out the adjustment. So.
Christine, can I make a comment on the structure? This is going to be fun. The caveat is that if you haven't upgraded your client to 5.3.0 or better, this is not going to work for you.
Okay. In that case, I can still.
And it's better to go all the way to 5.3.2.
Yeah.
They got the bugs out.
Okay, great.
No, always good.
So Kara, that might be why you weren't able to access that functionality, but so it does nice, you know, it's nice that it does allow you. That's good to know that it does allow you, but I can assign people. So if you can't see that, just let me know and tell me what room to assign you in. Okay, so Kara can go. Will you go ahead and put the link to the Miro board in? And those of you who are comfortable with Miro and can just start going into the 1, 2, 3, 4 panels and fill in your stickies, that would be great. And if there's anybody who is not able to access the Miro, please tell us in the chat as soon as you can, so we can help facilitate getting your answers into the Miro board. Okay, I see.
Kara's saying that's a broken link.
Pardon me?
Kara is saying it's a broken link. Hang on a second. Here's the right link.
I'm seeing people in there.
That's the same link.
It's the / is not there.
Oh.
Maybe that made a difference.
Something with my formatting isn't copying and pasting nicely. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to actually stop sharing so you guys can focus on your screens and doing your answers. And is there anyone who's having trouble?
May need to copy and paste because it's breaking my link in the chat.
Yeah.
Well,
it's the proper URL link, but for whatever reason, Zoom itself is incorrectly translating the link into the chat. So if you copy and paste it, it should be accurate. It's just unclickable, if that makes sense. The link is proper. It's just not formatting properly in the chat.
It's not an active link. You have to.
So let me, I'm gonna share my screen for just a second. If for those of you who are not used to Miro, here's a thing to notice is that if you look at my screen, you see how some of these are highlighted. That means someone else is using that. So you want to pick a Post-it that isn't highlighted by somebody else at the moment. Actually, it looks like everybody's doing pretty good. And looks like everybody's in there actually. So good. I think we don't need to facilitate getting people's stuff in there. I'm gonna stop sharing. Feel free to unmute and vocalize if you need to. Okay. Stephanie, is it Stefani or is it Stephanie?
It's Stephanie.
Stephanie, okay. Thank you. It's Jim, do you know how you got that circle on there and did you want it there or was that an accident?
No, yeah, it's an accident. I don't want it there.
So you probably have selected shape on the little toolbar on the very left. And if you go in and go over and just click the arrow, the cursor arrow, then it won't be making a new thing. It will just, when you click on a Post-it, double click, it will select that Post-it.
All right.
So just try it on the one next to it for a second.
There we go. Then it doesn't.
Do you want to share your screen for a moment so I can help you troubleshoot?
Sure.
It would help if I didn't have all this crap in the way. Okay, so go to, okay, click on the arrow, the cursor arrow. Click again to switch back. Oh, can you go up to the settings icon to the left of the top of the screen? So there's this, there's the microscope or the magnifying glass, the search thing further. Yep. Now go, yep, that settings, and then go to navigation mode. Yep. And then pick, are you on a mouse or a trackpad?
Trackpad.
Okay. So then apply that.
Huh.
Click the apply button.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. And then maybe up at the top where it says note there, do the X out of that whole white side panel under the word note so that you have more space. To the right, up, right from there, right over there, X. Nope, not that. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's go back to the to that Post-it that's next to the one with the circle. So you just double click on that now. Now you can type.
And it changes the font size as you type?
Yep, it'll shrink it down as you type.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that there's some technical thing that I could help you with. Can I delete your circle then?
Please. Okay.
That was a shape icon. You accidentally added a shape to the whole thing. Okay. who feels, if you, and the other thing I should have said, or I'm saying now, is when you feel, when you're done, go to the reactions and do a thumbs up so I can see how far along everyone is. And is anybody else having trouble editing their Post-its? Everybody's looking in pretty good shape. Oh, I think the thumbs up go away. Oh, well. Just keep hitting it. Just keep it there.
Well, you can go into participants and you can put a
do the hand thing.
A hand or a yes check mark when you
yes, like this. Oops, mine doesn't show.
No, you can't see yours. That's how it looks.
I feel left out. Does everybody know how to go into the participants and do a check? Oh, I see Ryan does. Jim is not done. He's saying, do not make sure.
No, go ahead.
I'm teasing. Well, luckily we don't have like 20 different blue Post-its. So this first experiment will not be as overwhelming as it could have been. Which doesn't mean you shouldn't put your questions in there. If you've got more questions, go ahead.
I feel like all my questions are like deeply dormant, and as soon as I get in there, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
Well,
I've actually been in for a while, but I'm sure that there's some things that I can help with. That's part of why I volunteered too. It's kind of a
good. Well, just go ahead and put them in the blue Post-its, and we'll see if we can fit them in as they come up. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to start clustering. No technique. Oh, this one. Well, these are. I can see I might add some of these pink ones to the clusters because they might be relevant. Okay.
Derek's got a question, I think. Is that right?
In chat?
Maybe not.
I think
no, Derek, I just raised my hand.
Saying you're done?
No, I was ready.
I interpret that as a check mark, as a green check mark. And so, Tim, are you still working? Not to rush you.
Nope, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, and I think that's it. Okay, so well, this I think is going to be more about connecting and just hearing each other's experience, because it's not super complicated stuff. And so I'm going to share my screen again. And since there's not a whole, it's not super, now why is it, okay. Here's how I'm thinking of figuring this out. Jim and Ryan, I think you both have a sense of metrics and using them. I'm wondering if one of you feels more inclined and confident about that or eager to talk about metrics than the other.
I have not. I have not gotten into metrics for other than just poking at the feature set. So I don't know that I would be a real good explainer on that front.
Okay. Jim.
Well, and that was my question, use metrics. So,
that was your question.
Right. But I have some, my question comes from a knowledge about metrics. So I come from the S&A world. So I want to dig deeper. Yes, that's a good one for me.
But not for you to lead. Or,
yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. You'll lead that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay, and it might be that that's a good question for all of us to have together. I was thinking.
That would be great.
Because it's a small group. So let's see if there's any. So the other questions are technical requirements for embedding a Kumu map on your WordPress site. That one, do either of you know how to talk about?
I can talk to that one a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
And sort of getting into somebody's WordPress site, yeah, I can show the basics of that.
Okay, great. And then is sumApp the tool you use to collect the data in? Well, it is definitely the tool that we use, but should I add that to Jim or to Ryan to address? And I think these two go together, and I think there's a whole bunch of us that can address that question, these two questions.
Either way.
Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay, I'm gonna give this to Ryan. And then there's this, I feel like goes, I'm suspecting it's the same person, I could be wrong, but goes with that. And yeah, okay. I'm gonna just break you guys up and I'm just gonna, this is what I'm gonna do. I think that this whole plan, I love that we get to have this very small practice run with it because it's helping me learn how to think about how to do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make two rooms. One is going to be called the Jim room, and one is going to be called the Ryan room. And I think that you guys' conversations will go kind of like the way they're clustered here, but if I hadn't already said I was going to do it this way, I would look at these and I would say, let's just all talk about them all together. But I think it would be great to still break you out. So I'm going to do that. Well, so we're going to give you 15 minutes in breakout and then, oh, I have to do that part. Sorry. And then we'll all come back together and address whatever feels unfinished collectively. So I'm stopping my share.
Can I just ask a quick question, just because we've never used Miro before, we've used Jamboards. I don't know if you can make it larger when you're sharing your screen, like the Miro section. Just my question is really because when we do stuff like this, I mean, I have quite a large screen and it's harder for me to read. And I know there's some people that we work with that are using more like laptop screens to do stuff. So is it something on Miro that you can make that larger when you share it, or is it just generally that's the size?
A little trick that we learned on Mural, not Miro, is to have the person sharing the screen be more of your Kara person rather than the person who's actually editing as you go, and have them zoom in on the section. That way you can be moving around over here, but the section that you're paying attention to at the moment is nice and front center and stays there, which is because as the kind of primary mover and whatever, it can get really distracting. Yeah, you can zoom in real close on the notes and everything. It's just a matter of where you're focused at that point.
Okay, no, that's great. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, that's useful, Ryan. Okay, so I'm going to open the rooms. So if you should now all be able to see at the bottom of your I didn't, I'm gonna quickly do a screen share. At the bottom of your Zoom panel, you should now see a cursor that or an icon that looks like that. Welcome, Jane. Do you want to just do a quick sound check and say hi?
Hi. Hello,
Hi.
everybody.
So you're just sort of jumping into. I'll explain what's going on once we've got everybody else.
I think for the benefit of anybody who joined in after Jim mentioned this, I think it's I may not even be updated to the right Zoom client to get kicked over to that room unless you just assign me Christine. So I'm not seeing the breakout rooms.
Okay. Anybody? So I'm gonna.
Now I'm getting an invite.
Okay, I'm putting Jim. So Derek.
Yeah, actually, I'm not seeing that either. Sorry.
So you're Tim. So tell me whose room you want.
And also Stephanie. So if you could put both Stephanie and I in Ryan's room.
Okay.
Thanks.
And Christine, I'm not seeing it either. So could you put me in Ryan's room? This is Derek.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not showing up even for me, and it was yesterday. So
it just showed up now, Christine, on my computer. I'm using a Mac.
Okay. Do you have a thing that says go? Because I've assigned you all. Okay. And then Jane, I'm going to just give you to Jim Best and you guys can connect.
Sounds great.
Okay. Because he doesn't have anyone to talk to otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you should have a thing to say you can. Hey.
Hi.
Hey.
Everybody's back.
My time management could use some help, Eric. I apologize for not getting a little bit further into that explanation, but
no worries. I think I got it. I got it.
Actually, Christine and Tim Hansen, is there any chance that you could send Derek an example of a map that has a good progression? I know you all are doing a great job of explaining kind of how we go from the simple to the complex, and we talked about that last week. And I just it'd be great I was trying to explain that to him, and I didn't have a good example at my fingertips, but kind of a progressively showing a little bit more information, just to kind of walk somebody through the kind of how the mapping develops would be awesome.
That would be a good one for Jane as well.
Okay, so if you want to, is there I will do that, but then I will be focusing on that. So Ryan, if you would like maybe finish the conversation you guys were having? Or
sure. Yeah, I mean, what we were talking about was really...
can I just say in the chat, if you go up, you can join the community of practice map, which has that in it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
If you just go up there and click on that link and add yourself, you can go see that map right away.
Cool. Thanks, Tim. And I think that the main thing is that you don't have to, we were talking a lot about this last week, you don't have to show everything all at once. There's a really good logic in any case, even if it's a sophisticated user, to kind of walking people through a little bit more what you want them to focus on as you go. There's one other feature that you could explore, Derek, on that front, which is Kumu does have a presentation option that kind of works the maps into kind of a slideshow kind of presentation. And I've had kind of mixed results with it. I don't know if anybody else has been real happy with how that works, but the only thing I really like about it is that it ends you at the map. And it kind of like, you can kind of build a little bit of a story and then it like drops you off in the map. But I haven't found it to be the best. So putting that out there because you're undoubtedly going to run into it at some point. The Kumu folks on their Slack channel will probably point you in that direction if you had asked the same question, but I think they think that's the tool for it, but I haven't seen it like work for me yet.
Yeah, it's so I'm putting the Human Systems Dynamics map, an embed link to that right now. And there's one more I'm going to get, but I also really invite you, if you're not, to put yourselves on our community of practice map, because that sort of gives you a sense of the interface. Good. And
the other thing that I forgot to say, Christine, sorry to interrupt. The other thing I forgot to say in my group is that when you see these examples, bookmark them, especially when they're not just embeds, because, well, actually, even the embeds, I think you can get into the code somehow. Anyway, we've all talked about this in various conversations, but the kind of swiping of bits of code and borrowing that for styling purposes and learning purposes is like a big part of how I got up to speed. It's like just figuring out like how to read, you know, how these things are assembled, and grabbing the little bits that work well. I know I've certainly benefited from Tim's work on, you know, various styles of buttons and you know, ways to sort things out and stuff like that. And I mean, I think that's kind of what this community of practice is partly about, is sharing those pieces.
Yeah, cool. So I just put, thanks Ryan for talking. I just put links to 2 public maps so those are public facing. You can look at those whenever you want. And then this community of practice. So let's just feel free to, are there questions that people had that they feel, is there any topic that we want to continue in this space altogether? Any unanswered questions?
Getting at the code snippets, is it T, the short button? Just so people know how to pull up the code window. I can't remember how you access that.
T.
Oh, yeah. Let me show you what she's talking about. Can everyone see my screen? Is it a map?
Now we can, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a public map, and it doesn't, you might be used to looking for there being a little like a settings icon right here, and it's not showing. That's because there's a setting to not show it, which when we embed a map into Kumu or into sumApp, we hide that settings icon, because for most people to open that settings icon is just like a total can of worms, and it's scary, and they think they're going to kill something, and it's just like too much drama for a little icon. So we hide it. But we're not hiding it because we're trying to be secretive. We're just hiding it to keep people feeling comfortable. But for you people to know that in any map where there's an embed, I'm going to hit my T button right now, and it pops open the advanced editor. So this, if you're not familiar with this is where all the fancy stuff happens, all the settings happen, and there's a basic view, which is right here, and then there's a advanced editor view, or basic editor and advanced editor. But yes, thanks, Kara. So the T key on your keyboard is what opens that up. So if the icon is not there and you want to copy somebody's code, you can get it just by doing this and doing here, and then sort of you can study how was this thing built. And maybe Jim, let's just hear a tiny bit about your conversation, or any feedback or thoughts from that group, takeaways.
Yeah, there was a nice overlap between Jane and Reiner's interest in building community within participants in the university and between university groups. And so they're going to connect up around that. Jane's new to it, but is full of energy around this. And it seems like sumApp, the way it's set up right now with dual entities, is sort of a perfect fit for Jane's situation of talking about entity to entity relationships and person to entity and person to person.
Cool.
So
great. Jane.
And yeah, please, Jane Reiner.
You're smiling like you might have something to say.
No, I just appreciate. Oh, it was a nice conversation. So that's all.
Good. Good. Glad. Anyone else want to share takeaways or ahas or anything from the conversation? From the breakout conversation?
We talked a little bit about just the kind of technical aspects, getting these things onto websites and everything else. And I know, I think I had this conversation last week or the week before with the technical group about there is a real strong limitation on Kumu as a mobile device friendly application.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put that back out there as well. As a community engagement consultant, I do a lot of thinking about what the kind of actual reach of things is. And there's a lot of concern about, there's a huge proportion of the population who only accesses the internet on mobile devices because that is all they have access to. And so it is worth keeping that in mind as you think about your larger communities and thinking about your audience. I think that's always worth keeping in mind. I have seen some very small, particularly like the kind of system map things that Kumu does that have worked fine on mobile. Like it's nice to be able to drag around and look at something, but the interactions, and especially the kind of really deep interactions that are required. I mean, some of these maps, like the human systems dynamic one that has so many different ways to sort, so many different things going on. I think you really need to be thinking about those as being aimed at a desktop user. And in many cases, actually a pretty sophisticated desktop user. And I think that that's it's a good thing to just kind of keep in mind as we go forward. Certainly the tools that I'm using, it's not always with organizational types. Sometimes it's the public side.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Derek, 1 second. Oh, I was going to ask you, Ryan, are there any graph visualization tools that you can import data into that you have ever run across that do a better job?
Do work well in mobile? No, not that I've seen yet. I haven't gone out hunting specifically. I tend to get a little bit like, if things get introduced to me, I will definitely go down that track. But I'm like, when I have a tool that I'm working with that's working for me, I tend to stick with it. And so I've definitely kind of haven't really been looking for Kumu replacements. I have run into a couple that seemed even more complex. To be honest, that was the big thing.
Okay, thanks. Just if you ever come across something, let us know, because we would be interested in potentially structuring our data to go into a tool that's better in mobile.
I feel like it would have to, I mean, my limited user experience would be that it would have to be something more app-based, that you like got to answer a couple of questions about what you were trying to find, and then it showed you a map rather than trying to show controls over top of the map. That's how we're doing other geographic mapping kinds of things, is that if you're going to show a map, if you're going to show complex information, that needs to be the only thing you're showing. You can't have choices and other things going on there.
Yeah, great. Derek, you had a comment or question.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. Ryan mentioned something that before he moved to Kumu, Ryan, you had experimented with or tried to create your own website. And can you tell me a little bit of your own
it was actually the survey side. What we were trying to do before we discovered Christine and Tim's valuable service here, and actually it was before sumApp really existed, we were using a predecessor tool that I was really unhappy with to do the surveying work, to get the connections. And I went down the path of trying to customize a survey tool for that purpose on my own, and ended up with a lot of back-end data mangling every time I did it, and it was far worse than I anticipated, and that was only after doing an internal test in our organization. So I opted not to do that going forward, and have definitely been paying attention to this tool's development, since then.
Did you say data wrangling or data mangling?
Both. Definitely both.
Same thing, I think.
Go ahead, Derek. Yeah.
So I am, of course, working with young people, and their data is more seen as more precious because the Family Rights and Privacy Act in the United States. Is there any, is Kumu or any other of these asset networking, asset mapping, social network mapping interfaces, are they pretty secure so that I don't have to worry about breach of confidentiality and that kind of stuff?
So in Kumu, if you if you pay a monthly fee, you can keep your map private. So so no one can access the map. Okay, there's a couple of qualifiers, but generally a private map is fairly secure, and the only way people can access a private map is within Kumu is if you give them rights to the map, if they have their own Kumu account and you give them access, like observer access or editor access within Kumu. Now, all of the exceptions to that have to do with the fact that you can use an embed link. You can make an embed link, and that is like how you would show your map in a website. But it also, oh, Tim just left. It also means that anyone who can. So in sumApp, we take the embed link we keep our private maps private. We put the embed link into the sumApp map page, which sumApp is private. Only people who have their own unique link to sumApp can get into sumApp. And then, and so if you do that and you don't use the embed link in any other way, or give anyone who's not on the map access to the map, it's pretty safe. So we have, for instance, we have a network in Asia there's fear of retaliation, et cetera, for like people don't want it known that they're in that network, and they're pretty security conscious, and they're doing it that way. But the thing to keep in mind is that an embed link, anyone who can access a map via the embed link there is a hack that they can actually see all the underlying data. So what it is anybody who's in the map, I mean, you can hide fields. So you can make it so that they can't see certain things about each other. Just it's not being displayed. But anybody who understands about looking at the console and looking at the data source could find it pretty easily. So like with kids, they're gonna all know. I mean, they could all access each other. They could. So it's not like you can hide any data from the members of the network. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Sort of long-winded, but it's a little complex. Yeah. Jim.
I just wanted to pull out one thing. Rainer was talking about the difficulty of engaging people in the map and really understanding how sumApp and Kumu work together and so forth. And this is a common sort of problem. And I was just I want to point out to sort of Christine's thinking about the visionary hat that you wear as a mapper, the technical hat and the sense-making hat, and how they're actually all very much tangled together, so that when you start a technical conversation, you end up talking about the visionary side and making sense of it. And so just holding those loosely and learning from each other what we can about how to introduce maps, how to make sense of them, and how to display the maps technically so that they deliver on those.
Yeah, yeah. So for those of you who haven't been part of these sessions in the past, we are, and I didn't say this in the beginning, but so our formal session is always designed to go to an hour. So we go to the top of the hour, which is a minute from now. But then usually Tim or Kara and I, and Tim, if he's around, are willing and able and happy to stick around for an extra half an hour. So if you have more questions or just want to have a more open-ended conversation, we'll do that for up to a half an hour. So we're at the top of the hour. So if you want to stick around, we're gonna do our goodbye ritual in a moment, but then just don't hang up at the end of the goodbye ritual, and we'll and then we'll still be here, so you can still ask more questions. So the goodbye ritual is very simple. We just ask everyone to unmute themselves, and I will count down 3, 2, 1. And when I get to 1, we all just sort of give each other our greetings for the rest of the day and our appreciation, all at the same time. So if you want to do this with us, go ahead and unmute. And 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Macht es gut.
Love to everyone. Okay.